welcome to this session. Myself, Christer, and Kajsa will keep you entertained, I hope, for the next hour or so. And it'll be a fairly fast-paced session, and we actually didn't decide at the end, did we, Christer? Is it Swedish or English? And it's probably going to be some sort of mix.
I think we'll do it in English. Otherwise, it becomes troublesome, I guess.
Yeah. In terms of questions or anything else, English or Swedish doesn't really
At least
matter.
for my brain.
We'll go. Yeah. For me, it's very easy. I will do just English. As usually, what leaves it more difficult for you if you have to switch over and back. Today's session is, I did one before with Christer on emails. This one's slightly broader, where we're looking at more the bigger picture of getting leads and translating those into sales. And email is a big part of that. Those who don't know me, I'm Edward Nugent. I'm the founder of Digital Scorecard and also of the Swedish Ecom Association, one of the founding members of that. And this is what I work with. We work with building digital systems for people. Christer, maybe you give them a couple of lines or words on about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Christer Maxe. I'm a copywriter. I have been working as a copywriter for about 25 years, and I help small and medium-sized businesses improve their sales with better copy and better email and better landing pages and better ads and better everything that has to do anything with copy.
Exactly. What I call him is a wordsmith.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a Swedish equivalent word. I don't know the word I use in English. And also joining us today is Kajsa, and she'll be manning the chat, and she has a few other questions she'll pop in and be into the session later. But maybe a few words from you guys as well.
Ja, Kajsa, det är nog ett väldigt, väldigt typiskt svenskt namn, tänker jag, så att alla har fattat att jag jobbar dock internationellt också, så jobbar både på svenska och engelska. Men som sagt var, dyker det upp frågor och sådant, skriv ner dem i chatten, använd chatten. Jag skulle säga att här är två fantastiska experter här med olika perspektiv på just den här frågan. Hur kan vi helt enkelt få fler leads? Hur kan vi sälja mer? Svårare än så är det inte. Så använd det här tillfället också i att ställa frågor i chatten. Och som sagt, min bakgrund är marknadschef. Jag har köpt väldigt mycket digitala tjänster bland annat och drivit och väldigt många olika kampanjer och sådant. Så att jag kommer att bidra lite grann från det perspektivet. Så jättekul att det är så många som är här. Det visar ju bara vilket viktigt eller intressant ämne det här är. Och jag tror att många av oss här sitter i samma båt. Fler leads, mer försäljning. Ja, det är där vi ska fördjupa oss idag.
Thanks, Kajsa. And the power of words, and actually we give you an example of that here. With Christer, the reason we're actually here is because of that. I read a passage, I don't know when that was now. It's probably 6 months, a bit more maybe ago. And I didn't know Christer. No idea who it was. Read this page and I thought, I actually can't remember if it was in Swedish or English. I think it was in Swedish, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was. I read it and I thought, shit, this is good. This is the first Swedish copywriter I read that I thought, I want to take an action now. Normally it's very rational. Normally it's, especially in Swedish copy, this wasn't. This was textbook stuff. So when I read it, I thought, immediately came to my mind was Dan Kennedy. I said, this guy must have read those books and he must have studied it. That's the power of something like this. So words do matter. And the other part of it, so I immediately emailed Christer and said, basically, who are you and what is this? Because it was so familiar, but yet it wasn't. And then we did a session from there. Now, the reason I mentioned that is there's a lot of fables, false stories out there about what is the sales process. And we're going to go through it today based on our best practices and our experience. But there's one thing I'd like to bear in mind here is time is a big factor. So when someone sees you or has a need until they buy, that is a huge factor. Good copy, well-designed process will speed that up to an extraordinary extent. And we are going to cover a little bit on, it's often called the 95-5 rule. 5% is in market right now, 95% are not. You can impact that greatly with good copy and good process. So you can get people to act much faster. So that's one of the reasons we're here today, and we're going to discuss that. And we're living proof of it. So we're going to the list building, and it's going to be pretty free-flowing. We have a whole bunch of slides. We'll talk more about some of them. We'll skip some of them. And it'll be between us. And I also want to mention a little bit about Timo. From lots of press on that in Sweden at the moment, and mostly bad press, and most of it misses one huge learning for us. There's still a 15% of the Swedish e-com market. It's worth looking at how they've done that and learning from it, not just trying to shit can them, if you know what I mean. So we're going to cover a bit of that, and Krista has a lot of tips on these subjects as well. Now, just realized, Krista, we've one question here that we need to ask. B2B or B2C? Our primary here in e-commerce is usually on B2C, so to consumer. However, we know that an enormous amount of B2B companies are also doing e-commerce. And the flow is more or less the same, because you're still selling to people. So is there any, I actually asked the question here, maybe that's what we decided, I think, that is there any B2B companies here? Because if there isn't, we'll skip a couple of the slides and the conversation. If there is, we'll do that. So if there's any B2Bs, as I just mentioned, just type in B2B. I think nothing more than that. It just helps guide us along the way. Okay, we've got a few. Okay. Grant, we have a few. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we have a few.
Okay, cool.
The majority will be B2C though, because just looking at the numbers as a percentage, majority is consumer based. Do you want to take this one, Krista?
Yes. I think this is the most important question in all of marketing. Why should I buy from you and not one of the other options available to me? Yeah. If you can answer that question in your copy, on your webpage, in your emails, in your offers, then you're going to sell a whole lot more than if you can't answer it.
Yeah.
So it's well worth spending some time on that question alone or with your team, and ask yourself, why us instead of every other options available to me?
And the ideal, and this is where the good copy comes in, if instead of just saying and trying to convince somebody, the copy should lead someone to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Clients should actually be thinking, well, this is for me. That's our goal, right?
Yes.
And this is one of the reasons we know each other, because I think it was Dan Kennedy is one of the few that hammers this home quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He works, in the US with this stuff. This is what we often see. Maybe some of you here today are feeling this. Customers are not buying. I'm getting leads. My list is not growing. Advertising not working. We hear that quite a bit. There is one also, because we have a lot of e-commerce companies that are around for a while. And the term I'd use is growing old with my customer base. So in other words, we're not getting new people in. We see that quite a bit as well. And that can be also personality marketing. And you're appealing to the same age group. And as they get old, you get old together kind of thing. But growth is then a problem. And then there's other things, more detailed things, don't know what to say. And there's general frustration. So these are the symptoms that you can solve by having a good lead generation and sales process in place. I actually put this one in from, I think it was yesterday, the day before. I seen it because we talk an awful about knowing the target customer, but speaking their language is actually what wins. But to speak their language, you need to know them. So it's a two-sided thing, and this is where a good wordsmith helps. They'll twist the words just a little bit that makes sense in the mind of the consumer.
Yeah.
And then systemizing. We're not looking at one post, one email to fix it. The only way that wins is actually frequency and recency is certainly in advertising is what wins, and systemizing. And that's what we're going to be going through and talking today. It's not about email today, but it features pretty heavy, right? You do a lot on the email side, Krista, in terms of helping companies with their sales and marketing flow.
Yeah, a lot. And it still works. People kind of think that it doesn't work anymore and complains about it, but it does work if you're doing it the right way. The wrong way that I see a lot of e-commerce businesses do it is they just send out a storefront in email.
Yeah.
And there's very little copy. There's just pictures of their stuff, and then some button to drive me to the e-commerce store, and that doesn't really work very well. You have to communicate and create relationships with your list, and create trust over time, so they choose you. And we'll talk more about those parts, I think, in a while.
Giving them a reason to buy rather than saying just buy now.
Yeah.
And I always say, email, when I put this out, it should be in your top 3 sales channels. If it's not, you've got a huge opportunity. And the other 2 will be direct traffic, people typing in your URL, they know you already, or search on your brand. So people know you, looking for you, and buy. Email should be in the same group. If it's not, there's a huge opportunity that's easy. So when we look at clients, how difficult is this task going to be? Because we work a lot with e-commerce companies, and Chris, I'm sure you do the same. The first thing you look at is, okay, how hard is this going to be? And if we see email that's low on the list and not really being used, you think, okay, this mightn't be so difficult, because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here. So that's one of the things I'd say to everyone when they're looking at this today. How big a role does it play? And could it play a bigger role? The way social media is going today, let me backtrack a little bit. A couple of years ago, there was a movement that was basically saying social is going to replace email. Email is not needed anymore. We're just on social. We're just going to message there. The way social has gone now, and the way it's going even more, tells me that it's only a source of traffic, but email is where I want to get people, because at least it's a channel I have some control over. I've got zero control over social. So it's an important piece to have. Everybody who's here today is here because of email. So if you're attending this, if you knew about this, if you sign up for this, the only way you can do that is email. And we have, from cold list, about 60-odd%, is just saying when we started, about 60-odd% of people here are people I do not know. They're new. And then there's friendlies, people we know, kind of see regularly, probably in a weekly or certainly every couple of weeks basis. And then there's from the lists, the ones our own email lists. So you can see it as growth with the cold. That's because we're B2B, we do a lot of that. But email is the crux of it. It's not just us, other people are saying it in terms of other SMEs, small to medium-sized companies. We did the surveys of Swedish companies. And one of the questions is, what's the top 3 tools you couldn't do without? And email tops the list by far. Rightly so. For those that it doesn't, I would suggest there's a big opportunity. So it's big. Before we get into it, there's an awful lot of misconceptions, definitions, what is email, and these are 4 broad groups. The stuff you do day to day, one-to-one, me sending Krista an email, you sending your clients or one-to-one emails, that's the standard one-to-one emails. Your newsletter will go out periodically, weekly, monthly, maybe bi-weekly. And a sequence is someone signs up to do something, and then you have an automated sequence of emails that go out maybe every day, every 2 days, depending on the situation. And then you have cold emails, which is a list of people. So we had a list. I'm quite open about this. The one you sent me, Krista, one of them was Shopify users. So we use it for cold email. So we send an email saying, here's an event about e-commerce to Shopify users in Sweden. That's cold. We don't know any of, sorry, we probably do know some of them on the list because actually I've seen some sign up who are already in our groups, but the vast majority we don't. And that's cold. So you can use it in so many different ways. And you do different types of messaging along the way. You do a lot of this for companies, I think, Krista, right? In terms of the content.
Yeah. All of them. Not one-on-one. I do, one-on-one is for me, but all the others I'm doing.
And this is where, when you're building the business, this is what we need to be doing. And it's systemizing. Now, there's 2 sides of this coin, which we come to. I work pretty much with business design. How do you set it up? And it has to speak to your target client. What's the words there? Well, this is where Krista's really good. It has to help them answer the question, is this for me? That's the only question they have. Because if they think this is for me, then there's a good chance they'll buy from you. And then having clear and reasonable calls to action. Now, the reasonable is an important word here. When Krista mentioned in the beginning about emails going out with a shop front, basically, it was pretty much buy this now. It's not exactly a reasonable request, right? A reasonable request would be if they're interested in something. It'd be something on their terms more than you saying just buy this stuff. And it's very much different requests for the calls to action we'd make based upon what we're trying to achieve. So the 2 sides to it. This is why it's 2 of us here today. You have the messaging, the words, you have the process and the tools. And we both cover a bit of both, but Krista would be the expert in terms of the messaging, and I would be in terms of the process and setup. So it kind of works. This is what we're trying to do. And I think this is where we're going to give an example, Krista, from what you have done with some clients. And I think the one in Stockholm in particular was interesting. Getting people to take...
Oh, you mean the little clothing store?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a client. This was some time ago. I had a client who was sending direct mail to their customers, and they didn't get any people to come to the store. So they asked me if I could rewrite it, which I did. I rewrote the whole letter, and I also did some stuff with some research stuff. But I'll tell you the important part of it. The important part of it was the call to action, because I said to them, if you don't come into the store within X amount of days, I have to give your discount to one of my other customers. That was one of the stuff. And the thing about this, they had a little customer club. So the people who sent it to had money in vouchers, so they could use them. And that worked so well that he said that we can't send that again in a while, because we almost sold out everything. They had loads of customers coming in. And it wasn't just that part. It was the part that I described, how they would be taken care of when they come to the store. They were going to get some not champagne, but some other bubbly stuff. So we made it into kind of an event but we also said, if you don't come, I'll give this to someone else.
Yeah.
So when you're getting people to take action, you need to think through, how am I going to do that? Is it just to say, click this link, or do you need to convince them otherwise? Usually you need to have reasons for them to take action, and it has to benefit them. They have to feel that this is for me and I want to take this action now.
And the part here that it's really easy to describe, right? Setting this up is not the easiest thing in the world. There's a lot of detail to go into it. But in principle, what most are doing today is offering a discount and then putting a deadline on the discount and hope. We just hammer a few more emails and hope they'll then buy. Right? It's not very creative.
Yeah.
And everyone is doing it. So it becomes the standard, which means people don't take action. I don't know if I have a slide in it today, but the creative phase, I feel we're back to. 20 odd years ago, it was more about creative and less about channel. Then Google came along, social came along. Okay, the channel became really important. And people were producing a whole heap of crap and en masse. Now, to stand out again, I think we need more creative. But it's also in how we act. So the part here for me that stuck out when you start describing this, not just the experience you're giving, but it's the human psyche in marketing. So you're going to take something away from me. You're going to lose it. It's not a clock that's ticking. It was a reminder, and this is the bit that I know when we went into detail in our conversation, the reminder that I'm going to give it to somebody else. And it was real, not just made up.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to a little bit later as to how some are doing this online as well. Exact same thing. Doesn't look like it's the same thing, but it is. And it's working. And we need to start doing more of that. I'd relate that to the first thing you said, Christopher, with people sending their shop front in an email.
Yeah.
It's template stuff. Everyone's doing it. So if you think about it, should I expect an action by doing that? Or should I put a bit more effort in here and say, well, okay, so what's of value to them? And how can I really understand the actions they're likely to take? For me, part of the problem here is there's not enough marketing people working with marketing. It's seen as common sense. It's seen as, yeah, we'll just do a discount, and here's my template from Shopify or my email system. I'll just do that. That's all that works, isn't it? And that's the problem. It's one of the sources of the problem. What you did for this client is very different. Turn the shopping event, as it were, into an experience, so it's more attractive to go. That'll get certain people there. Because one piece also I think you missed here is you had identified who you thought the customer target was.
Yeah, and they thought that the customers were people who lived in the area, which was Östermalm in Stockholm. But when I looked at all the addresses in the list, most addresses were suburbs to Stockholm, and my gut feeling was these guys are salespeople, most of them, which was kind of right.
Exactly, needed a good suit.
Yeah,
and the importance of that piece was then to design, in a sense, an event that they would find fun to go to.
Yeah,
not just pick up the bloody suit. So that was one big piece that you did. And then the second part is, how do you get them to realize they should do it? These people don't want to lose it. Actually, nobody does.
Yeah.
And that's the other piece to it. Right? So it does take a bit of design. It does take a bit of setting up. But it's a damn sight more likely to be more effective than here's 10% off.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. So start to work and think like this so we can get customers to take action. You have a much better shot at it. And it does take a bit of time. the email with the shop front from a Shopify email is really easy, but easy isn't always effective. In fact, probably the opposite, I think, right?
Yeah.
When we take email, then we've all these items, right? People are saying, what's important? You have a take on this, Christo, okay?
Yeah. The one, if you're not famous, or if your business or your brand is not well known, the most important thing is the headline or the subject line.
Yeah.
What you want to do is to work with email so the subject line becomes irrelevant.
Right.
Then the sender, which is you or your brand, is the reason they open it.
No, I very much agree. Which, to do that, you need to stand out. People need to want to receive your email. If it's a templated email that comes every time, you know what? They get a bit boring. They don't tell me anything. Therefore, I'll avoid them, right? Now, this here is really interesting. This is in the ad world, and I don't like dogma. I really don't like rule-based to say this is how it is, because fundamentally people listen to David Ogilvy, and he's one of the good advertisers, right? And people are still focused. If you look at LinkedIn today, there's an enormous amount about the hook. Whereas if I know this person produces something good, the hook doesn't matter, just like Christo was saying. So we need to aim at where are we aiming at, you know? If the content is of value to somebody, they're more likely to. If it's cold, though, so cold email, cold messages, don't know who you are, then the hook is really important. So context really matters. That'd be, as a rough guide, I think with cold, we work quite a bit at hooks, Christo, right?
Yeah. With cold, it's all about the hook to get people to open it.
Yeah.
If they don't open it, they won't read it, and if they don't read it, they won't answer you.
So context is what matters. However, when you're doing ongoing email sequences, the hook and the headline should not matter at all, because they should know us by now.
Yeah.
And the weight is on who it's from. And we've one example, and I don't know if she's here, but we'll show it towards the end, and that is Cecilia from Alice Dot, which is a really good way of doing this.
Yeah, she's really good at it.
Yeah. And this is also where a lot, I find, get lost, and they start talking, okay, what's the bounce rate? What's the open rate? Or you get people even measuring on a campaign basis the open rate and saying it must be good. For me, the reality is this is complete distraction. What matters is how many people signed up. If it's an event, I send 1,000 mails. Do we get anyone signing up? I don't care what percentages. But if, for example, it's very bad, either my content is crap or there's something fundamentally wrong with the system and how I send them, then I use it to diagnose. This matters from a technical point of view. You get a high bounce rate, all of a sudden you get it hard to deliver any emails. So that's why you need to monitor it. But it's not a performance. Doesn't mean it's a good mail. Doesn't mean people will sign up. That'll be all to do with the content. So I'd say diagnose rather than feature then. It's the exact same with advertising. Views, likes, comments, clicks, they're actually of no use. The bank tells me they don't accept them. They actually only accept money from customers. Therefore, that's what I measure. But I diagnose based on if the flow is working or not. That's about it. I do have something on this, though, that is important for anyone, B2B or B2C, and that's this email validation. So we'd run them through. So if you got, let's say, you have an email list of your either cold for B2B or your existing newsletter list, you should run it through a validation at least quarterly, because you're going to find quite a few of your emails will be invalid. If that goes up, it means then Google, Microsoft will stop accepting your emails. So you get hard to deliver. That's why we do the email validation. And I use Email List Verify for that. There's lots of systems out there. I find them to be good. And there's a small fee for it. It's well worth the money. And I have another rule. If your bounce rate is ever over 5%, then clean your list. It's a rough recommendation. The other part with email warming. So if you have a new domain, or if you're not sending bulk email that often, then you can have a system of email warming. And we use that as well, especially for new domains. And it is basically sending 50 emails to other people who are warming and getting replies. So it basically means lots of Gmail accounts will get your email and they come back. It's all in the background happening. Warms them up. It means then Gmail is thinking, okay, these people are okay. So when you do send 1,000 out next time or 500 out next time, they'll arrive. So the technicalities on email is quite important here, because if we can't deliver the stuff, they can't read the nice message that Christopher has written. So you have to have the two sides to it. I'm looking at time and I'm thinking this is probably too technical in B2B. So if anyone wants more about B2B setups, send an email and I can actually send them this slide. And it's basically how we work a lot with cold email. We do a lot of it. The list building type of stuff, Christo, rather than that right now.
Yeah.
And this is the key thing. How do we stand out? How do we build a list? What do you say? I think you have a few tips on this, Christo.
Yeah. The first one is I think most e-com businesses, it doesn't matter if it's B2B or B2C, should do campaigns with the purpose of just building the list and not only doing campaigns to sell products or services. And there are a lot of ways you can get people to sign up to lists. The easiest way I've found when it comes to business is just to give something away, some sort of content that the people are interested in. I can give you a short story about that. I had a client who sold courses for quality work, like Six Sigma or all that kind of stuff, which is focused on doing better quality work for bigger businesses. He had loads of content on his website that was really good, but I don't think very much people saw it or read it because it was like 10 pages long. So I told him, why don't you do a mini course for one of the reports you have, and just do 5-minute segments just to get people to consume it. So we tested that, and he was very good on video, so he did the whole course in half a day, and then we tested it on LinkedIn, and to my it wasn't so fun because only 2 people asked for it. So a big failure. So then I looked at his stuff again, and he had a checklist in the course, which you got as the last thing you got the checklist. So I said, why don't we try just giving the checklist away and see what happens? So we gave the checklist away, and he had, I think the first week he had over 50 people asking for the checklist. And that post on LinkedIn was alive for about 3 weeks. Not huge, but people during 3 weeks was asking for the checklist. So then we took this checklist and we put it in paid advertisement on Facebook. in July 2024. And during July, he got 700 leads from Facebook ads. This exact same copy, exact same picture, but on paid ads, so we could scale it quickly.
So basically, he put something in front of people that they thought was attractive, and they reacted to it. Put it simply, you know. What's really interesting with that example as well, a lot of people do not want work. A mini course is work. A checklist, easy.
Yeah.
And on the starting point, it makes a lot of sense. But some businesses, it works the other way. So you have to test, just like you did. What we've found with statistics, and I'm not sure if it's the case for all, those downloadable PDF checklists are quick if they're a one-pager.
Yeah.
The PDF are often given. They're not read. People will fight to get them. They'll do a lot of stuff to get them, and they'll be delighted to get them, but they don't actually use them. So the follow-up part is really important.
Yes.
You know that. So in this case, and if we say e-commerce, I think a lot of them fall into this trap of focusing on their newsletter. And I know I'm not very popular when I say nobody wants your newsletter. Nobody cares about your newsletter except you that's writing it. So it has to be framed into the receiver's world, both in the name and in why they should join it. You know, get my newsletter. No thanks would be my response 90% of the time or more. But get my newsletter that gives me tips for X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z is important to me. Easy. Read an article for somebody who actually it speaks to you. You do take an action, outreach. In this case, to use the Chris's example, I dug up, found his email, and emailed him. So how you build your list and work with it is always framed in how it interacts with the receiver. And too many go the other way. The templates I find, I don't know about you guys, but I look at Shopify, it's shocking when I see the newsletter signups.
Yeah.
When I look at the standard form from the email providers, they're shocking. Yes, they function. So someone puts in their email, it'll work. But the reason why someone should join it, that's your job as the business owner or the marketing person. Or you get somebody in to help to do that. That'll be the success and failure, I think, of it. And certainly in e-commerce, a lot of the time is left to the bottom. It either comes as a pop-up and you've just landed in the site, sign up for my newsletter. I think, again, no, don't even know where I am yet. Or then I have to go to the very bottom of the page to find it, which obviously you won't. This has been your experience that kind of fails at the first step. Yeah. So some examples can be like the checklist, it kicks it off. Top tips, a webinar. And then you migrate into an initial sequence of a couple of emails to get to know you, and then into your newsletter. That's kind of a flow. And you're bringing them on a journey. That's the way I see it. I know when you're writing them, I think you probably think a lot like that as well, Krista. You're kind of bringing them on a journey from where they found you until where you want them to be. Which obviously
And you can easily automate, you know, from the sign up and send out 5 or 6, 7 emails with content just to let them get to know you, and also, of course, try to get them to buy as soon as possible.
And that's all automated.
Yeah.
And the only difference is your newsletter, you write that once a week or a month or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
Most companies are not that happy with their lead gen. We see this, and this is from the study we've just done. on average, it's quite poor. There's very few, as a percentage, that are happy with it. Most of the time, it starts in the wrong place. Most of the time, here's mechanisms people are using. This is the percentages based on the survey we did. Most are using the same thing. Whereas some of the stuff over here, I would say, is much easier, much more likely to be effective. As many of you who know me, I do like widgets and pop-ups because they do get in the way and get attention. And the key with them is the message. And this, again, where some of the words come in. This is where understanding, I guess, from the perspective of the client. How do you do that, Christopher? So let's say we're trying to get somebody to take an action. I know one of the problems many have is how do they get into the mind of their client so they can write something that they will be interested in?
Yeah, it's actually getting out of your own way, I think, and try to walk in the customer's shoes for a while and really think about your best customers. What type of people are they, and what do they want, and how can I give them something that they would be interested in? And like you said, it's never get on my newsletter. It's get this thing who will benefit you this and this way, or who would solve this problem, or whatever it is. But it has to be focused on the customers. And preferably, you should try to push their emotions. So because that makes it much easier to get them to say yes, compared to logic. Logic has its place, but it doesn't have its place in headlines or in when you're trying to get people to sign up for something.
And how about, just play devil's advocate here? Obviously, Nordic countries are quite logical. The people tend to be more logical than Southern European countries.
Yeah.
So you're saying emotion works there also?
Yeah. Emotion works really, really good.
Yeah. Do you get much...
If you push the right emotions.
Right. So do you get much pushback there from companies saying, well, no, this is Sweden, we're very rational. We actually just want the facts and tell me what the benefits.
I usually try not to talk about emotions with businesses. I just write it, and then I say, I think we should test this.
Right.
And sometimes they react with, oh, we want to talk about more logical things. And but usually I can get them to at least try it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is what you're doing, in effect. Promote something that's valuable to a client. Very clearly having a call to action to join, to do something. You have an email that's a sequence, and within it is to get actions, including purchase. Now, this is a simplified version, but this is what we're doing. Most of the time, it fails here because we don't focus, I guess, on what's valuable to the client. The other part is we often promote the action we want at the end, but we promote it at the beginning. So we're not bringing them on the journey. Now, the better wordsmith you are, the shorter that time, because I always have time along that, the shorter that can be. The bigger the pain your target has, the shorter the time. So I use an example of, someone's broken their arm. They know they're a broken arm. They don't need a bunch of emails to diagnose them. They just want it fixed now. So that's the extreme version. So how can you get that for you can speed it up, the better you might the problem, the more valuable you are to the client. And this is really where it's about. It speaks to you and gets the action. And that's what we're trying to do. And the setup is actually easy in many ways. Understanding the client is the harder part. Okay. You want to deal with take 2 minutes to deal with the dog, or be required? quite loud. Yeah, it's quite loud.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Will he? Maybe, yeah, we'll see. Maybe he'll reduce, because I don't want to lose you either. So I want to use an example here of Timo, and I actually want to talk to this with Krista as well. We've seen an enormous amount of negative press, and you know what? Looking at the facts that were being presented makes sense. Is it good for society and waste and all that? No, it's not. We're in a sales and marketing event here, and I'm looking at them and thinking, okay, these two have got 15% of the Swedish e-com market for consumers today. From nowhere. They're Chinese. They're in the Swedish market. So there's no home advantage. They have a home disadvantage. Yet they're getting 15% of the market. They're doing something right from a sales and marketing point of view. And I know price is a big part of it. And I know somewhat gamification, but it's not in the terms that has been presented today. So here's some examples of what they do. And if you haven't done it and you're interested in marketing, you've got to understand these people, because it'll help you enormously in your business. So I've never bought anything from them, but I'm on email lists of all kinds of companies, because this is kind of what we do. I'm curious. I have apps for, I don't know how many e-commerce companies that I never buy from. They're the most active. In fact, they're probably the only one that's active to a non-buyer. It's a really important piece here. I'm a non-buyer. I know they work in cycles. So I get messages from them, and this is a screenshot. I think it was last week or the week before. Actually, last week, because I can see here it's Friday, right? Oh, no, no, that's the week before. So let's say it's 10 days old. It doesn't really matter. But what have they said to me, right? Apologize for the delay. Accept this discount. Never bought from them. They're apologizing for a delay as if I'm expecting it. This is to get me into a conversation. This is getting me to click. Did I ask for something? They're using the right wordings here. And again, they do use this quite a bit. Do you know why? Because they know it works. Who sent the credit back as our apology? Please accept it before it expires. And that's not a million miles away from what you did with the retailer in Stockholm. Here's
exactly.
Here's a voucher. Here's some money. Use it before we take it away from you. And the pain of that disconnect is more likely to get someone to take an action. If they had said to me, and they don't say it to me here, here's 10% off your next purchase, that wouldn't have the same impact. They know it. They're bloody good at this. You don't get 15% of a market by being a fool and growing. And everyone's kind of against you, right? Now, I know price is a massive factor. I know people buy on there for entertainment. I know lots of kids that just buy, and it might show up in 3 months' time or not. And they'll spend £2 doing it, or 20 crowns, and they don't care. That's a huge part of the market. And a lot of it'll be in landfill, which is not a pretty sight. But we can still learn from it. And this is the stuff they're doing, and they're really good at it. And I have so many apps. I have Zalando. I can't even remember the apps I have. I never buy from them. I've never bought them from Zalando. I never hear from them, ever. If I get an email from them, I get these ridiculous emails from the Shopify style. Here's our stuff, just buy it. Doesn't get me to do anything. Doesn't get me to register or think. This is what gets their customer base in. Credit back, and it'll expire. You take it off me. They're pushing buttons. I'm looking for I've other screenshots, and I can't actually find them for today's session like this, because they actually understand marketing. They understand the human psyche, just like what Krista did with the retailer. Who is buying in that shop? Okay, what event would they be interested in? What turns it from buying a suit into something that they look forward to doing? Certain people, you push the right buttons. You then get them to take the action now, because I'm going to take that away from you. So you line lots of stuff up. Now you can do that and get success, or you can say, here's 10% off and hope for the best. I know where my money is. And the numbers in every case suggest we know who's winning here. So look at these types, look at their patterns, look at their understanding. Have more respect, I think, is what I'd also say for sales and marketing. It is not a matter of sending out a mail. It's not a matter of here's a discount. That tactic, I think, is gone. It's getting tougher. So we need to get better. We can learn from this. I don't know if anything else on that, Christopher.
Yeah, I think you can learn. It's everybody hates Teamweaver and everything, but yeah. I think it's important actually to learn what works.
Yeah.
Even if you think it's I don't like them, I think they're shady or whatever, but look at it and start thinking, okay, I don't like it, but it obviously works. How can I use this for my business, which is a good business?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with, people say they can't learn from someone they don't like. I have learned loads of stuff from people I don't like, just because I want to learn it. Exactly. But I think it's important to do, good stuff for customers, because you want to have customers as long as possible, and get them to buy over and over again, as long as you can get them to.
Yeah.
So,
this is a good example, local example. Cecilia in Malmo. She's very clear on who her target market is, on her profile. And she's very good at writing and building relationships. It's one of her core skills, which will then, with our weekly newsletter every Wednesday, and actually it's not just the day after the sales, it's same day. So it's a cycle, systemized, and that's nice. And then there's a reason why people should join the list. Every business can do this, or elements of this. So if we go into a version, speak to the client, invite them to take an action that's relevant to them, email sequence and newsletter follow-up, and take actions based on what you're asking. That's the flow. We overcomplicate this. We make it difficult, and we forget the core fundamentals. We're trying to get prospects, leads, customers, and get that flow right. Just realize we're a little bit behind here. There's a whole lot of tips and images and text. Maybe we do this very quick.
Yeah, I think that depends on the context, on what you're selling. But usually in e-com, images get more
attention,
more focus, more attention. But I think the text is the thing that does the selling.
Yeah, exactly.
And what to write about also depends on what you're selling. But in most cases, if you're selling business to business cases, reports, statistics, and all that stuff is good. But also, and business to business almost always miss this. Write stuff about what's going on in your business. Give them a peek what happened at the business party or whatever, and write about stuff that's going on in a way that you're writing to a friend and telling them stuff, instead of just writing to pitch people. You should always have some sort of pitch in it, but give them a little bit of look-see inside your business and what's going on. And be personal when you write. You don't have to be private, but try to get your own voice, a very distinctive voice when you're writing.
So they know it's you, basically.
Yeah,
is the key piece here. I'm going to skip this one, except to say this is about SEO content, and AI assisted significantly better, quicker, faster, better. Now, it's human edited. Too many go the wrong way. They actually write something and then they get AI to do it. Here it's AI, then human. It was a little bit a tip in yesterday. These are e-com specific. I don't know about you, Christopher, when I see this, land on a site and it's instant pop-up it's pointless because I
Yeah.
haven't even seen the page yet. So minimally add a timer. We do page load plus 20 seconds usually. Sometimes page loads plus 10, but I'd usually go with 20. The time to land and read something. Discounts, again, I often get instant pop-ups with the discount for a purchase, and you'll just get rid of those because it's of no value to me unless I'm buying something. So a discount is like free. It's no use unless I value it. And these are fatal kind of mistakes in list building. And this is the core point I think we're trying to make the whole time, right? What's of value to them? And then redefine these based on that. And there's a few good examples of this. MBT Shoes have done a great job there with survey-based. Started with a widget, then went survey-based. It's based on how people buy, what they're interested in. And this is the core part. We do have a need to stand out. It's funny, the word synthetic is coming up a lot. It's fake, lies, whatever you want to call it. It's often called synthetic. This is getting harder. Temu and Shein are kind of in that ilk, but they're winning in many cases. So being a trusted and reliable one, we've actually done this with the Ecom Association, with a certified e-handle, so everyone knows you're legit. I'm going to skip across this because I realize time-wise we've only got 5 minutes. This is what you build in your business. I'll have a simple version, I think, next. Everybody should be thinking like this. How do I get my client right the way through the business to buy, review, and then that's all we're doing. But if we don't speak to clients and systemize it, it won't happen. They're the 3 things. Speaking to clients, good words, help them to buy, clear calls to action. This is what we're setting up the whole time. And that leads to prospects, leads, and sales. And it's the combination. It's not easy. And these are the steps you kind of go through, right? Target market, you can't write without your target market, Crystal, right? It's impossible to have a message if you don't know who they are. Because I don't know what's important to them if I don't know who they are. Getting a good message but landing on a page that makes no sense doesn't help. No follow-up. If no follow-up, there's no point in having a list. And then if I have no reason to take an action, well, then again, what am I doing? So these are the pieces that you put together. And so in your business, we try and piece that together with the right message. I don't have any other questions coming in, Kaiser, or anything to add or share here. I know we're tight on time. It's funny, these time just flies away. More, I think, yeah, everyone actually that joined is still here, which is good. If there are any other questions coming in, just fire them out. What we do have is, this is not easy. I think we'll all testify to that. We do it for our own business. What myself and Krista have done is we put together a program. So if anyone's interested in having lead generation for sales in their business and wants a helping hand, we actually have a program for that. And it's running from next week. I think the first one is in on Monday, over 3 weeks. It is 100% one-to-one. I know it's a bit different because we find it just works. So we get 1 hour sessions and 6 of them does it. And one can be just on what you're trying to do, what's going to engage your user or your type of client, what landing page, what text. So we do 6 of those, and the idea is 3 of me and 3 of Krista. If some of you think, oh no, I really want Krista for 5 of these, that's fine also. Equally, if you think, no, you want more on my side, that's also fine. But we start with a 3 and 3. If anyone's interested in that, with support and advice. We are doing this one-to-one, so it takes quite a lot of time from us. And that's why it isn't cheap. But anyone's interested, we have a discount on that one. Actually, it's 10,000 instead of 12, and over a 3 period. 2 bonuses here for anyone. One is a free follow-up session. Because sometimes you do a program and then, okay, what happened? We'll do an hour session afterwards. And we'll also actually do a verified buy badge from the Swedish E-com Association, again, included for free, because that helps you get credibility. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with us, and either Krista directly or Kaisa, or reply to some of the mails we have. Next time, we have advertising for sales in the alumni, and that's myself and Kaisa, and that's actually just the way things work out. That's tomorrow, 23rd. So if you have, you might already have an invite for that. If you don't, you can sign up on our site Digital Scorecard in that case. The next Swedish E-com Association is with Joseph, and he's from VAM. Some of you might know VAM, and he was with the, the Dark Nest producers on there for the past couple of years. And we are talking about outreach, and that's in February. So anyone's here will get an invite to that as well. That's it for today. So again, if you're interested in this program, let us know. Happy to. If there's any questions, or email us in, we will stick around for a few minutes. Anything there, Kaisa? Oh, we are all good. Okay. So we need to. Okay. No, I think we must be good.
Det har inte dykt upp några fler frågor, utan det har varit lite grann här under hand som jag har plockat upp. Och mycket bra frågor, just det här med hur man gör med de kunderna som man har och redan har och så vidare.
Mm.
Och jag har också lämnat min e-mailadress där om det är någonting annat som dyker upp här under tiden när man går hem och börjar fundera på de här grejerna och tänker okej, vad ska jag nu göra med allt detta som jag har lärt mig, och då finns min e-mailadress där också.
It goes really quick, the hour, doesn't it? You know, back and forth. But yeah, it's how it goes.
Yeah.
Find it each time. So I guess the conclusion, Krista, is very much be mindful of what's of value to the client. That's the underlying goal, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything else pretty much follows from there.
Yeah.
But it's so hard. I honestly, there's so many times you go through this, and it is so hard to do this in your own business.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, at least I can see it. It's so easy to do it for everyone else. Everyone else is, oh, it's obvious. You just do this.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at your own and you think, there's too many ifs and buts. Yeah. So it's quite fun to see it on our own side as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it is difficult to do things for yourself. I know a lot of the good copywriters who also do courses, they rarely write their own copy. Someone else writes for them.
Yeah, it makes sense. Actually, it makes a lot of sense.
Because you get too close to the stuff. I write my own stuff because, well, I just have done it for a lot of time. But I know a lot of others are letting someone else write it for them.
What I find, the main reason I find for that is you get too close to all the detail in your own business. So you don't see the picture. You can't see the wood from the trees. Whereas when you're outside someone's business looking in, it's pretty obvious. Okay, this is the business design. This is the flow. This is what's most important. Whereas inside it, too many details, too much stuff.
Yeah.
And therefore, there's a paralysis in a way from it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we wrap up for today. Anyone's interested in the sessions, they will start Monday. So if you're interested in them, let us know. We can't do too many because it's one-to-one and we don't do this too often. So if you're interested, let us know. Otherwise, have a nice evening, and we will see you again. Thanks again, Kristen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Hej.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.